It is Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, 6:07. And I will proceed with the roll call. So, Brian Smith?
Present.
Frederick Krueger?
Yes.
Bethany Miller?
Yes.
Lisa Ramsey? No. Margie Sloan?
Here.
Mary Blake? No. Melissa Silo? No. Justin Morrison? And Karen Dam. Okay, thank you. So I'd ask everyone to turn off your cell phones, pagers, and anything that makes noise. Okay, the first item in our agenda today is the approval of minutes from last meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Does anyone have any observations or changes to the agenda? No?
No.
Okay, so if there are no corrections, if no one doesn't have anything, so we will have to approve. Everyone says aye?
Aye.
Is anyone? No, there is no. Okay, so motion approved. Okay, our second item in the agenda is continue the discussion for the public arts master plan draft. We started last time and we didn't have time enough to do the discussion, so I'd like to open the discussion. I don't know if maybe Teresa could explain what is the process and what would be the next steps after we discuss and approve.
So when you have the final proposal for the master plan, we'll have to take to council. And then, so today will be a good day for us to wrap, the content of the master plan. If there is anything that you would suggest to include, and anything that we want to include in the master plan. And then we also have to decide what is going to be the process to take to council, because we can, staff can take to council, but the board can take to council too. If we would like to do a presentation and, explain to council what we are proposing or what the board is proposing to be in the master plan, I think that would be a good opportunity also to for the residents to know what is the program. One suggestion that we discussed last time, and I did not include, it was not included in this proposal, is to have an educational component that we could include as one of the avenues that we could also explore public arts in the city. So invite lecturers. So everything that we put in our master plan, if we have money, then we could finance. We also, and today I brought Drew Bower. Drew is our Rec and Parks Director for 20 years, Drew?
This coming month will be 23.
23. So, he's the person to talk on anything that relates to the parks and events. So he'll talk about that. But also, a lot of the things that we are proposing will be in the public facilities. Most of them will be in the parks or related to parks. So I wanted also Drew to hear what we are proposing, and because now we also have some money already confirmed to the Public Arts Fund. The next item will be how to spend that money. Will be the discussion on how to spend that money. But I think one of the things that we could include would be the free libraries. So we have this idea, right, that you have the little libraries that people can just share books. And literature is also art. So if we could also, have that avenue to facilitate and enable people to have access to books, I think that could be something that if we include here and if we have money, then in the future we could also fund, this program in the city. So these would be my ideas.
Teresa, would you mind to explain how it works, the free library?
So the free library, we were approached by a local Scouts group, and they wanted to donate. And this is what it looks like. It's a little a structure in public facilities, in parks, and people. It's a free exchange, program that people would donate books, and whoever wants to read, get that book, read, brings it back, brings another book, and so people have access to books in different through this program. We could have that in different areas of the city, so in different parks of the city. So that was someone approached me because they were proposing to do one in Central Lake Park. I forwarded to Drew, and we were discussing. And Drew said, "Well, it would be good." I think the city already have one.
Yeah, and actually, this actually started about 2 years ago. The Be a Citizen Action actually brought it to my attention about 2 years ago, and at that time I shot it down because all I could kind of look at was the possible negatives that would go as far as additional maintenance for park staff if the books were not put in properly and started getting rained on and that type of thing. I'd really never seen them. And then I was telling Teresa, when my wife and I went on vacation this past year up in Tennessee, I saw two different ones. I saw one out in front of the church, and it was kind of, they designed them in all different kind of colors and things. This one was actually designed exactly how the church looked behind it. Same colors and everything, so it was kind of cool. Because as I was going down the road, I said, "I can't believe that." And she said, "What?" And I stopped and I backed up in the road and started taking pictures of it because I said, "Yeah, this is one of the things." So I told Teresa, I contacted Tessa, and she's from the Cub Scout group that wants to do this. And I said, Tessa, I really feel like I need to go back to Vita Citizen to Action. And actually, I just sent something to Danny McKinney, who was their former president, to see if they want to still get involved. In the process of us not even knowing this, the Rotary group had contacted the Historical Society, who, of course, leases the Lawton House at the Lawton site of Friendship Park. So unbeknownst to me, there's one at Lawton House. So I started checking out with staff. I go, "Does anyone know how this got here?" And one of our employees, who's a member of Rotary, says, "Yeah, the Rotary Club had contacted Historical Society, and the Historical Society they didn't have any problem with it." And I said, "Yeah, however, it's not historical. They lease the property; it's city property. So we still need a process." So this is where we kind of are at now, as far as we have the one group, the Cub Scout group, that wants to put in two. And one of the things I know Teresa and I have discussed is possibly if it could become part of this group's initiative in the future, that we could, because they actually sell the kits, and then we could possibly have nonprofit groups or service groups build them and then put them in different areas of our parks. Most of them are associated with kids' books.
I like the idea, one, because I have one in my yard at home, and we've had it there for, I guess, a year, and it matches our house, looks just like our house. We have a friend that is a carpenter, and he made it for us just how we wanted it, and the kids love it, but adults love it too. There is some maintenance occasionally. The doorknob keeps getting taken for some reason.
The lock?
Yeah. But we have since fixed that and super glued it, and now it's all fine, so they leave it alone.
I hate to be the devil's advocate here, but I have to wonder if there's any concerns or liability issues if these are distributed throughout the city. How do we know that people are putting appropriate material in there?
Frederick, you hit it on the head. This is all the questions I had, because one of the things, in fact, I talked to the city manager, Teresa was in the meeting this afternoon, and one of my major concerns is because I said, "Hey, Brian, I will tell you what I found about 2 weeks ago. I was just happened to be by Friendship Park, and someone had left food in it. And see, and so there's people who are going, oh, I guess I can donate, but it doesn't say anything about food. It says, books. I think a lot of it's educational. I think we'll have to get out ahead of it, possibly by doing some stuff on our webpage and doing some stuff educational through the park system and rec department. I think it can be done, but my worst nightmares, and of course, I'm thinking negative, which, everyone said, Drew, you need to look at the positive side. However, I'm worried about someone who might have a huge book, where they're just a person collection, and they go, I'm getting rid of it. And they go, oh, I saw those libraries. I'm just going to take the boxes and put them underneath. And then all of a sudden, now it rains, and now the wind blowing, and then park staff has a huge job of cleanup. That's one worry. And then the flip side is what you brought up, is who's going to control, because the last thing, if it's a children's book area, last thing we need is someone dropping off 50 Shades of Grey, and some 10-year-old is walking home reading, and mom says, what are you reading there? And she said, and then mom's calling the city manager going, what are you doing? This is not appropriate reading for my 10-year-old. So now I will tell you, Tessa from the one group, she's on board with going by once, twice a week and checking to see what's in and taking out anything that's dropped off. Unfortunately, you're going to probably have some of that, because people are going to probably think, well, some people are not going to pay attention that it's more for kids. Now, the flip side, and I thought about this, maybe we could have 1 or 2 located somewhere that might be more adult-oriented and say, adult novels or whatever. And the bad thing is, I don't have the staff time to be able to oversee
kids
that.
can still
I know.
draw out of that.
I think we could address that in websites. Right?
I think it's educational.
Yeah, the thing is that it's educational, and everybody can control. It's social control can be done by anyone, right? So if I go there and I see that it's improper material, I can take the book because it's free. I can take the book and remove from the public access, right? So everybody could do the same control. We don't need specifically a staff. I mean, if we put some language in the website saying, be careful with appropriate material. This is open to all ages. So, and something like that.
Yeah, I think more people will probably do good things and go, hey, this is more children-oriented. I think once you do some education on it and put some stuff on the webpage, you're going to occasionally have something. But like Teresa said, we have park staff that goes in and out of the parks throughout the day. I might just make it a part of it. Hey, when you're walking by, glance in real quick. It'll take you 30 seconds. If you see something that could be construed that would be inappropriate for a 10-year-old or lower age, take it out. Same thing about the food. Right away I just grabbed the food, and the bad thing was there was a box of noodles in there that was open, and it spilled inside. So that's the downside of it. People think they're doing good.
Yeah. We've actually been happily surprised with how few issues we've had with ours, and it's in our front yard. So
I have one in my street, not in my yard, but I have one in my street. So I see people,
Yeah, most of the time it's families coming together. Yeah. The parents are with the child, and they both pick through, or they'll bring books and stick them in there. You do have to sift through some of it sometimes and take some out because it'll just start overflowing. But
because they're not real large.
Yeah.
They're not real large. And
it is, you can be artistic with it and create whatever you want. Right. But yeah, they tend to be about like this, not very large.
It's like a large birdhouse.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's one in the, what is it called? Red Bug Lake Park has one also by the playground, children's playground.
One of my employees actually he helped through his daughter's Girl Scout group. He just helped build one and put one up, and I think it's in someone's neighborhood.
Okay, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How would you distinguish ours from someone else who's put theirs up, or is there a need to?
I think I don't know. I think, we could do something to where maybe based upon the park that we're putting it in or location, because, one of the things I think I said to Teresa, down at Center Lake Park, I think it's going to have to look classy It can't just necessarily have 5,000 different colors on it, because some of them, they do have, I mean, like this one, it's multicolored. To, of course, grab people's attention. I don't think you can do that necessarily in every park. In some parks you can, and I think, there's, you know, for example, if we were, not that we would try to put one there right now, but if we were to put one at Riverwoods Park, that's more or less just a linear park, you know, with trails. So I could see that maybe we do it to where it might even look like the trees and stuff, and you have it painted that way. I think a lot of it could be based upon what this group, if they feel like this is something that could be done, maybe, you know, you look at artists and have artists come in and they, I mean, just like, kind of like the energy boxes.
Yeah, utility boxes, yeah.
Yeah, and just have them.
Now, the other thing is that we can start small too, right? You can have a pilot program with 2, 3 boxes or 1 box, and then we kind of monitor the issues and see how it goes. I mean, that.
Just getting back to what Frederick had said, is the city prepared to deal with a parent who comes and says, my kid got a book from your thing? You know? Because it's, I can almost guarantee
Something's going to happen.
The people who will be problems don't necessarily read your website and get educated as to what it's for. They don't really care about that. They just see this and use it for their own purposes. And I worry about the city being...
Yeah, I would think you would have to have like a
disclaimer
on the box itself.
And since our city attorney's here, maybe she can speak about something like that. Not to put you on the spot.
Never heard of these before, except for what I was showing Teresa. There's a giving tree near me where I live, and literally she just painted it, and it's an old stump, and put a sign up and painted it's a giving tree, and people leave coats here and there, or books or whatnot. And it's not, you know, it's a grassroots thing, and it's pretty cool. But I've never seen these kind of boxes. I would say if you are going to put up a box, you would say children's material, children-appropriate material only. You know, the city is not responsible for...
I would say family-friendly. Sounds like it doesn't just have to be kids' books, but be aware it's all ages, to me, that wording. My brother's town near Cincinnati is called Loveland, Ohio. They have one in their downtown, and it's lovely. It is white, it's simple and plain, but it is... The families, like Brian said, walk up and use it, and I think it does give a sweet sense of community, kind of, a give and take.
And the sharing, right? I think it's... The first time I saw something, I was in the international airport in Philadelphia. They have that, and I thought it was a great idea, because when you're traveling, you buy magazines and you buy, you know, books, and after the flight, you just, you know, you just don't even want to carry, right, if you're going on vacation. So it was a place where people would drop and get, and it was, I thought it was a nice idea. So.
And initially, when OCIA brought the idea, they were also at the time looking at doing a reading program after school or during the summer. So their thought pattern was if they could get the kids to start interchanging the books, then they would come to the reading program, because it would make more sense of the books, populating throughout the neighborhood and things like that.
Frederick?
You could have certain ones designated to encourage programs like that, and maybe they have a sponsor for it, and then that's the Boy Scout one.
I mean, they're very,
Children-friendly,
they're
and then
very,
there's the adult,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very,
but
they're
still
not like,
PG-ish.
I would recommend that if you're going to do that you should do it for just the children.
Yeah,
And
I'd
just
start
leave
with
that
the
so that
children.
when we, or whoever's tasked with going around looking, doesn't have to look at an adult book and wonder, is that adult book appropriate? Because you don't know authors and how their style of writing is as an adult paperback book or anything. I mean, you just wouldn't know what to pull and what not to pull if you thought it was inappropriate. But if it's just kids' books, well, it's easy to tell this is a kid's book, and
but what age? See, that's my thing, just what age?
just put an age,
I mean, like, we could almost follow our playground guidelines, 5 through 12.
If my 8-year-old reads an adult book, I would be so proud of her for reading no pictures and be like,
So even if the content was violent or...
she'd have to read a lot to get to it. I mean, she'd be, I want her to be a reader. But anyway, I don't think For me, that wouldn't really be an issue.
Well, my thought is that the parents are most likely going to be with the kids,
the
at
kids,
the park.
yeah.
If they're a young kid,
Yeah.
and I would look at that with my child and say, nah, you're not taking that one. You know, that's not age appropriate for you or whatnot.
Children's
Kind of be there to
children
help guide the kids.
I mean, there's
Most of the time, the kids aren't there, you know, doing it on their own. I wouldn't think parents would kind of.
See,
Okay,
the one
we
at,
have-
the one at Round Lake Park, though, is right across from the middle school. So you get a lot of kids in the neighborhood who
schoolers.
walk.
Oh, yeah.
And so there, it literally could be middle school age kids who are walking home could stop and interchange books.
that's awesome.
You know, and I think that's kind of cool. I mean, and now, you know, now that over the last 2 years and learning more about it than when it was just kind of thrown, and I'm thinking all the negative and books everywhere and all this kind of stuff, then you kind of look at it and how, and then you see all these different designs and things that people have done, and it's like I said, when I saw the church one, I'm going, that's just cool. I mean, it's artistic. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, Frederick?
Would the city provide the boxes?
Well, what we're looking at possibly is like with the, I know with the two Cub, or excuse me, with the Cub Scout group, they are willing to donate the 2 boxes, and they're going to have moms, dads cut the material, and then the kids are going to put them together and cut and paint them, and then they're going to do it with like a service group to install them, or with city employees to install them.
Now, I admit that literature is definitely art, but it's not quite in the realm of what I was thinking the Public Art Board might do, was promoting literature. But the suggestion that possibly these boxes could be done and
Yeah.
painted by local artists might put it more in the realm of what we would be involved in doing.
Yeah, there's littlefreelibrary.org, I think it is.
Yeah, that's what, it's a
They
nonprofit group.
they have a lot of pictures and photos of different ones people have put together, and you can put them on a map on their website, so you can find all the different ones in your community. So you can get a lot of ideas just from their website, how creative people can get.
If I may, I believe that we already have in our draft master plan something about utility boxes. I think that these would be in this classification. I mean, we can even mention, you know, whatever is the name, library boxes.
Little library.
Free library boxes, just as an example to put in our plan, because then this gives us more, let's say, support to
60,000.
promote or support something, if,
They're-
you know.
they've got-
Yeah.
But I think that we already
They
have
said
that.
over
I would
60,000.
say that it's part of utilities or, you know, a bench or anything that is in a public park. It's an urban furniture that we would,
Similar to park benches in the way
that would be our, in my idea, like you said, I mean, okay, we can make them
Yeah.
artsy, colorful, we can promote some, kids can come and paint them, that would be. Now, taking care of the content, that's another story. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
I think that the city, content
content
is,
restrictions make me go,
That's the only thing I worry about.
so
I don't know how
I,
you control that completely.
I honestly feel, and believe me, we had that conversation about the murals, and my concern back when we started this was kind of what you were saying. Well, how do you control if someone wants to put an inappropriate mural up? And Teresa had said there's a certain level of trust that we have to have for the freedoms of the community. Now, can that be abused? And there would need to be an issue where we step in? Absolutely, I think. But as a general whole, I think the idea of this, while there is that potential, you know, as there can be with anything, I think the general whole is this is a neat way to establish a sense of community and, hey, we're out in the park with my kids, we're walking around. And I like the idea of this kind of thing for the board, like the park benches and such, because the reason that I want to be a part of the board is to help make our spaces feel inviting and family friendly, and hey, look at that, or oh, this is fun, and kind of draw us in to have more things to interact with and enjoy with the kids, and that, you know.
I didn't have the opportunity to read that entire newsletter, but I scanned through it and saw a lot of the different things that different communities are doing. And this library boxes with artwork incorporated, I think would be totally different than what I've seen anybody else doing. And we need to find something that's going to be a little bit unique and different.
Is this what you're
So,
proposing?
just to confirm, so is everybody in support of including the free library boxes as one example
Hollywood
of
offers a 6.
urban furniture that we would be kind of including in our plan?
And the fact that the good thing of including is that if we want to develop that, it's here.
Yeah.
It's something that the
That's
board,
the
because that's going to be the guideline for us. It does not necessarily mean that this is going to be the focus, but it can be the focus of the program. But if it's here, then we can, the Public Arts Fund can fund it, and, you know,
Are you saying that our draft has to be specific as to what we're planning to do now as we approve it?
no, it's not a schedule of activities, but it's going to show the range of activities. So, you know, so we have utility boxes, we have, you know, sculptures, we have murals, we have all sorts of, you know.
We have benches, we have...
Yeah.
I was going to ask earlier, because I have absolutely no idea what the city council expects in a draft from this board. So I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know if they want specifics or just general terms or just a wide scope of what.
I think this is, the master plan gives a lot of potential ideas. Yeah, I think a master plan would give, you know,
We don't have to get specific on any.
no, I
I
think,
think it's better not to be specific, because then it
Then
gives
it's
you
narrow,
open
yeah.
flexibility. But of course, that it has to have something that will guide us in the city in terms of how to approach, you know, ideas that will come, and having something in a document that was adopted by City Council, and actually afterwards I have a question about how it's going to be. It gives us much more clout in terms of what we can do, and even apply for grants or, you know, do this type of thing. So that's why I think my idea when you came with that is, okay, why don't we not only mention as one example, but include even a picture of, like we have, you know, just to kind of register, okay, this is something that it's cool, it has been tested, and we can maybe do
develop later.
Develop later. So that's one thing. The other thing that you mentioned, Teresa, so, and I would ask whether we should include as one separate item in terms of supporting or not, the inclusion of that, is the education part of it. What I'm understanding is that we should have some type of mention of what could be the role of the board in terms of supporting and publicizing the public arts in the city, and that could be written in a paragraph or something that we don't have here today. And when we talk about education, and that's what I would like to hear from you, what's your idea, but my idea would be any type of, like, our meetings that we can invite, and our meetings are public, so anyone can come, but we could invite someone to speak, or a series of lectures, you name it. I don't know if you have any other idea.
Yeah,
but that's what it comes to
partnerships
mind.
with schools, right, or, you know. So if we also envision that it could be a function of the board to, you know, because one of the idea, I think, is to promote public arts. So you can also promote public arts through education, through, you know. So I think that, again, opens another avenue for us to pursue later.
Huh? So,
Yeah?
is everybody in agreement? Do I need a motion?
Well, I didn't really hear anything concrete, so.
Well, it's just to include in the master plan,
Include in the master
draft
plan.
The
master
idea
plan.
of little free library
The little
plus-
free
as
library.
part of the utility
Well,
function
I wouldn't put
or
really
program,
Maybe
maybe the
urban
same page.
furniture.
Yeah, but it connected
as a
to
grant
yeah.
program or something to that effect? Or
Um,
just as a city project?
It will be a city project, a city fund. I mean, we could get grants, right, or sponsors or donors, but we are not giving grants. So we don't have an established program of, money to give grants away. At this point, we would apply for grants, and
I guess I
and
missed
the-
what you were saying then, because you were saying something about education and putting something in writing, and then you were talking about schools. So I kind of missed what. I missed the.
So, because here, the master plan is just giving the avenues that, different programs. So we established, for instance, the cultural corridor. Would be one established program. We have the utility box program. These were programs that we can develop, as long as we have either donors or money in our public art fund. So another avenue to promote public arts could be through education. So we could have a series of, let's imagine that in the future we'll have an event in the future for public art, for arts, right? An art fair or whatever. We could invite lecturers, to promote, or to give classes to kids, or, So this is something that is also promoting public arts. So there is, we could develop here the idea that there is an educational component that, is part of our master plan, and if in the future we have money, we could use that money to fund one of those programs, and we could develop those programs. And everything that we do has to be approved by City Council. So at this point, it's just ideas that we are throwing in a book, that in a document, for them to see, the variety of things that we have been discussing and we plan to do in the future.
Could I suggest another thing that might
Sure.
be included for, certainly not immediate, but down the road, is a venue for us to have that would be ours to provide programming and or a gallery of sorts. And the thing that comes to mind, and I was talking to Brian about it, I'm looking at buildings a whole different way when I'm driving through town now as to what art can be done, I was looking at the old post office, and maybe Brian can speak to that. I don't know what the plans are for that exactly. I know they've fluctuated and been pushed back and stuff for various reasons. But eventually, down the road, if that community center, if that's what it's going to be, a portion of that could be dedicated to an art gallery. And the building that's going to go up there, designed with that in mind, still available to use as community space, but it would also be a separate area for art, or an art gallery, so that we could showcase our local artists and their works in that area. And people would be in there for community events and see it. It wouldn't be buried off somewhere or seen by just one segment of society. If our community, that would be something that everybody could enjoy. And I realize this is way down the road because that's money, a lot of money and stuff. But if it's already going to be built, is it a possibility that we could have a portion of that space?
You're talking about the post office.
The old post office, yeah.
Yeah, right now, that's still quite up in the air.
Yeah.
We took the Ford Council this past budget period and actually suggested, because we received a RTP grant, Rails Trails Program, to enhance that park as part of a stormwater project with our Public Works Department. And so we had actually requested to tear the building down, because it was actually cheaper to tear the building down and make it into just a huge open space park land
With no building.
with no building for a community center. Yeah, just a park that would have restrooms, a couple of pavilion
Have
areas.
some structures, but not
structures, but nothing as far as that, because it would open that landmass up of and if y'all all been by there, it's been enhanced to a larger stormwater pond. That pond is going to end up getting even enhanced further, and there's going to be additional improvements, walkways, and some things done, and then a little trailhead up on the corner, the roundabout area. There's going to be a trailhead with bathroom facilities, pavilion, that type of thing. However, council chose not to go that way. because there still is the push to make that into some type of community center. But as we all know, right now, there is no funding. So,
Margie, what you're talking about reminds me of Castleberry's little art house. Has anyone seen that?
That was the first thing I thought of.
That
when I
is
saw that.
really, really
Yeah, and-
Is that
And that's
owned by the public?
yeah.
Is it owned by the city?
It's owned by the city. City rec staff actually runs that.
Okay.
Or a portion of their, I
Right
think
there
it's
on that
like,
lake kind of
yeah, and it's an awesome building. And if you've been there, I mean, they actually do art classes and pottery and
Yeah.
they have artists that do all kinds of stuff. It is very cool,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah,
My-
that's what I envisioned
That's what,
when you
and,
said
well,
that.
I realized, that would be us taking over the entire building. All I'm asking for is just a little room set aside that still could be used for community functions or meetings or whatever, but that it would have wall space for art and tables, for pedestals and stuff for art, that for local artists to be able to display and for us to use it for a lecture or that sort of thing.
Speaking of
Frederick?
community spaces, it's not Oviedo, but the library in Oviedo has a community room with lots of wall space, and they've got some pictures hanging in there that have been hanging there for probably decades. Now, there's not a lot of high traffic in there, but it would be a space where something possibly could be done if the county would go along.
There's a lot of meetings there. Yeah, I've been to a lot of meetings.
Well, what I see here in our discussion, we had some, and I will list here, and please confirm or if I'm correct. So the idea of including specifically as an example of urban furniture that could be treated as an art item would be the library boxes. The other idea was it would be to have an educational component in our master plan that would need to be a language specific, would need to be developed for that. The other idea is to have a venue to where art could be exhibited. It could be either part of a building or a room or a building in the future. So I think that all these items, they would have to be a little bit more developed and brought to us, and how they would be inserted in the draft that we have before we send to City Council. That would be my my suggestion. You have something else?
Well, another option and a question for Drew since he's here. I have been to the last two food truck Thursdays, and the city advertises the art walk. There's been one vendor there on the times that I've been.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Well, how do you get people to participate in that? Do they have to pay for a space? Does the city provide the space for them?
I would need to check with staff. That was a Sean initiative. I'd have to check with staff to see exactly how they're doing that. Because off the top of my head, I really don't
Did
know.
you pay, I think, because I did
I think-
actually apply
I think they're paying a
to
vendor
be a
fee.
part of that, but
Sorry?
I never
I
heard.
think there's a vendor fee.
I think it's not.
But it's not-
It's like the farmer's market, it's only like $25
Yeah.
at the most. It wasn't overwhelming or anything,
But how do they promote that to get people to be involved?
Well, they promote it through, like, when we put stuff on our webpage and things like that, and then he does stuff on social media and stuff to put it out there as part of the Thursday night food truck events and stuff like that. Is it getting huge, publicity? Probably not. Is there other ways that we can possibly, it was an initiative that they thought, because, in the process of y'all are doing this, I mean, this is something, I mean, I'm not opposed to anything. We're building a dog park right now. I can see in the future, if we could get artists to come out and put sculptures in the dog park, I'm all on board.
Where's the dog park going?
It's going to be out at Shane Kelly Park. We're in the process of building it right now. We're building it in-house because there is no budget for it besides the fencing that's went up around it. So we're actually building it with anything and everything that we can beg, borrow, and steal. Borrow from other departments. City
Okay.
culverts and everything, yeah. It's cool.
There is?
but.
Go ahead.
I had one question just on a practical matter. So does your daughter then, which I know, or has she already moved on, who will actually physically go in and update these? Is that you? Okay, so you've got that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we would need to
We need
bring
to-
that back and see
Yeah,
how it
and
could
also we
be
need to reshape
inserted.
it now too. I mean,
Yeah.
Eva did a great job, but
Yeah.
now she's going to be moved to
Just
a reference, right?
reference.
Because so this is now going to be the Public Arts Board presenting to council, the master plan.
I have just one more, in this item, one more suggestion. We have here a map on page 32 on the possible locations of public arts, which we have already identified some. I'd like to suggest to think about the west part of the city is a part of the city that doesn't have parks and doesn't have much here. This is an older part of the city. It has the school. Yeah. So to think about what could be done in this part of the city, too, as options, and also in the new parks or the new spaces that are being created with the all these urban improvements. You have in the corner of 434, where you have the ponds, you have a lot of space there. That could be one option in terms of putting some sculptures. You know,
So we've got
so
landscape pockets. I was talking to Teresa and Mr. Cobb about this afternoon earlier. There's no reason we can't put a structure in the middle of a landscape.
yeah, I think
pocket.
that's what I could even try to think about what could be done, but just to think a little bit more about the places in the map. So at least if we have them there, it doesn't mean that we are going to do it completely, everything, but this is a plan
Have we
that.
addressed streets, the streetscaping? I mean, I'm just thinking of that roundabout that everybody complains about.
That just got
I know it got redone, it's very pretty, but it could be made colorful, and artistic. I mean, it looks nice, it looks very nice, but, just painting curbs, bright colors or something. And I know that may not go along with the aesthetics that the city has planned for things, but, just, and crosswalks, there's some fabulous crosswalks that local artists could paint beautiful things on that would just
all sorts.
really look. But I didn't know if we had addressed it. I know
We
did
have some
this.
corridors right here, but
We
and
identify, well, because I think the way we approach this is because we are starting with not much money, right? Initially, there was no money. Now we have a little bit. We needed to see the low-hanging fruits, right? And the areas that are already ready, so the roundabouts, the roundabout actually that started this whole conversation of the public art was the roundabout here in Ovidono Park.
And I believe it is in the
It is.
the master plan.
It is in the master plan. But
That one is,
So
yeah.
we identified, well,
Okay, so the streets were addressed. I just wanted to be sure it was
Yeah.
included as something we could pursue down the road.
so we created, well, if we have to start a program, and let's use, within the park already has some, sculptures there, and we create like a cultural corridor along Oviedo Boulevard, which is a beautiful road, to start the program there, to concentrate the efforts there so that it shows, and then we will be expanding that. The master plan will probably have to be revised every year or every other year, so that this
Yeah,
is
it's a
how it's
living
going to be a
document.
lively document, right? A live document that we have to update, periodically.
So, and that was the question. Do we need to do a motion for that, or these are just suggestions that we would ask?
Well, you can do a motion to direct staff to amend the master plan for your discussion.
Okay, so I believe that I need a motion.
I'll make the motion to that effect.
Second?
I'll second.
What was the motion?
A motion to direct staff to amend the master plan pertaining per your discussion.
For the discussion of this item.
To
Okay.
include the little free library, to include the educational component, to discuss in the future a venue for like an art
Okay.
gallery, art house, or and then to also in this map try to address the west portion of the city. try to bring some kind
And
of...
the new spaces that are being created, because we didn't have that before. And I think that, that could be, okay? First and second, right? Okay, so passing on, is everybody in favor of the motion? Say
Aye.
Okay, no one? No? Motion passes.
So what I was thinking, though, is remember how when Commissioner Anthony was here, and he was saying how they have the Friends of the Parks? It's like a volunteer committee. Do you guys have anything like that?
We have a recreation parks board that really is not active.
Because I was thinking, maybe, I love the little library idea, but, not just books, but what could be in the books, like somebody has to maintain that in the book regularly. So maybe, like our seniors who are looking for something to do, or, we could have a volunteer Friends of the Parks, like Castleberry has, that could monitor the little library.
That would be a purely volunteer organization and have to be a separate, like, 501c3 type of organization if you don't already have that in place.
Well, we have Friends of
Oviedo,
Oviedo,
yeah.
which is a nonprofit organization.
Well,
that
then
we
maybe you could
receive.
work with them.
We can receive funding and things like that.
There is no them.
We don't
There's no
have,
them?
There
It's
is no
just
them.
a-
It's the city and it's the board. That's it right now. It's them.
It's just a way
actually,
to have donations.
It's actually Friends of Oviedo, the nonprofit that y'all helped set up, and it's three.
Oh, that Jennifer did, I think.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah.
3-board member in which all 3 of them are city employees
Huh.
right now. We can take funding in.
Yes, just a pass
It's,
through for
it
grants,
basically was more for if someone wanted to donate to whatever, because it's not just to the Parks Division, it could be anything in the city. If someone wanted to donate land or donate money
I think it
to-
started with the Veterans Memorial, right, and the
We'd-
clock.
Yeah,
right?
we had looked at a lot of things, I mean, yeah.
So do you have any friends that want to join the?
Yes, we need to promote that aspect because not only for the little library, but events that we want to do. We need volunteers, besides us.
Do their
like
bylaws
that.
And we have,
include that kind of
we have our
stuff?
own sponsorship program through the Rec and Parks Department. We've got 2 different programs. We have a scholarship program in which we have, for example, Helpful Hands, which is one of the nonprofits, large nonprofits here, and they donate $10,000 a year to our scholarship program that we utilize for our summer rec programs. And for kids who cannot afford, families who cannot afford our summer programs. And then we also have our our sponsorship programs to where people can sponsor our events and whatever. Down to benches, and it's like I tell anybody, if someone wants to buy us something, we're taking their money. Because it's something that I don't always get funded in through budget process.
Okay, well, yes?
I like your idea of doing something in some of the less traveled areas of the city, but I think for the sake of the Public Arts Board, it would be nice to have something that is in a very public, highly visible impact area. And so I'm wondering, Drew, would it be possible if we wanted to do something in Oviedo Park?
Yep.
Yes, and that's why we identified in the master plan, we identified Oviedo Park as our priority, as our cultural corridor, because it's already there. It's the destination place. It's the new downtown. It already has a lot of, it has the Central Lake
So
Park.
it could be a sculpture or something like that could go in the park?
We have identified in the plan, if we get the plan, we have identified the roundabout. We have identified another area in Oviedo Boulevard that has, it's like a crescent, right, area that is already landscaped, and it's perfect to do, to receive a sculpture or
I
something.
think it's nice to have something in a pedestrian area.
Yeah, well, that is,
So Oviedo Boulevard really isn't that much of a pedestrian street.
oh, it will be with all the construction that is coming along there, right? We have the townhomes, we have the bungalows on the other side, and we also have plans to extend Oviedo Boulevard to connect to us,
But
to the city.
Oviedo Boulevard's just going to be like walking through a residential area when they get all that built.
No, it's not commercial office.
Yeah.
We have a huge nursing school coming to Oviedo Boulevard.
The other side.
No, it's north of Windy Pine Way, way
Right across
north
from
of
the
it,
gym.
across from the gym.
There's
Yeah.
going to be a nursing facility?
Yeah, it's a nursing school.
Nursing school.
Nursing school with a lab, very nice project.
Office building, medical
Medical
office.
offices. It's
Parking
2
garage.
buildings and a parking garage in the back.
And also there are some offices in the new building too here.
Very
This
nice.
Building, the Strand, there are offices that front
Yeah.
Oviedo Boulevard.
Yeah.
But our next discussion is exactly on how to spend the $10,000, and we have proposals to get in the pedestrian area in Oviedo Park, so we can.
Yeah, I think that I'd like to pass on to the next item, which is item number 3.
Well, I was going to, but to answer your question, Frederick, because how many of you have been to New Orleans? Okay, you know and the lack of remembering the street, but it's the, where the mall is,
Yeah, yeah.
where they have, not Bourbon Street,
It's,
it's where,
is
it's
it
next to the Hilton Hotel.
Yeah.
They have 2
St.
huge
Charles,
murals
isn't it?
on the walls.
Yeah.
And then if you go down that street, there's sculptures all way down, up and down that street. It's, it's way outside the
mean
French
the-
Quarter.
On
Yeah,
the
but it's-
downtown street. It's on the downtown street with the large sculptures in the median? Or you-
It
and then
goes
the
there,
Zatarines
but
is
then
on
it
the
goes
wall?
towards the conference center.
With the Zatarines mural on that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's in the, I just went there in December.
It goes towards the warehouse district.
Right.
And they've
Not the
got,
street that the trolleys, well.
well, the trolleys start there and head, would be heading east, I think.
There's the street with the huge sculptures in the middle.
Yep.
In the downtown district.
Yep.
And the Zatarines mural is on that street.
Yes.
But then if you go down towards the waterfront, that's where the old sort of, that's where the mall is.
Yes.
But I didn't see murals.
There's a mural on the one huge wall next to the Hilton Hotel, which is where the mall is, which is Riverside. There's a massive mural.
It's
And it's
just
because it's
lots
a
and
mural
lots,
of
obviously.
water and like fish or mermaids or whatever, something
Yeah.
like that.
Do you have a feel for how the city of Oviedo might feel about murals? I know some cities don't like them.
Well, it's not that we
Actually, we're
don't
going to
like them,
propose
but-
murals.
Yeah, I will tell you, I mean, the 2 locations that Teresa's fixing to talk about down at Oviedo Park has always been planned for murals. We just haven't pulled it off yet. But yeah, I was telling Teresa also, when I was in New Orleans last, there's a park in New Orleans that has, and I can't think of the name of the park, I can let you all know, but I took 100 million pictures because of this board, and I just haven't even given it, I told Teresa I got to send that to her. But inside the park is a art initiative, and they have sculptures and art, and it's built in the park. The park is walking, linear park with playgrounds, all kinds of stuff. But inside, there's an area, it's nothing but an art initiative with sculptures and everything, and it's beautiful landscape, water, and it's just awesome. And it's all fenced in because, of course, they probably get someone to do damage, unfortunately, so it's all fenced in, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I was telling Teresa, I said some of the sculptures in that place is just unbelievable.
Okay.
It's just gorgeous.
Well,
Hit up the hospitals and groups like that, like we do for our special events. Everybody loves art. I think everybody has some kind of.
I'd love to see the Lego company down there come up and put a big, these are the Lego blocks, in different places. Yeah, right, and it's just colorful, the kids love it. It would bring kids there. They're looking to bring people to the art, but I just wondered who approaches them? Like, say I was sitting next to somebody at a dinner, and I knew they were from Lego. Could I say something, or how do you do that?
Well, if it's Drew, I just bring up the conversation. What can you do for me? What can I do for you to help me help you?
I just didn't know if I was limited to discussing something that relates to the board outside of this room.
No,
Who would propose that?
with the well, with each other, you're limited, obviously. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
talk
we
with
cannot.
each other
Yes, right,
outside.
right.
But if public art topics come up when you're outside, I mean, it wouldn't be good for you to go to somebody and say, hey, can you donate something to the city's arts commission on your own? If you come up with an idea, bring it to staff and then see if it's something feasible to staff. Because we don't want to get accused of exacting things from people, you know.
Yeah.
But
So you're
That's
saying
it,
that
you-
if I'm talking to somebody that could be a potential donor,
Refer
I
them
just need
to-
to
yeah,
set
refer
that
them-
aside and refer them
Well,
to...
that might be a great idea for the Arts Commission, you know, and, well, like what we did with Stanford was we created little flyers. And when that kind of thing happens, you give them the flyer. Here's the flyer, the information on our Public Arts Board and what we do. This might be a good project for you.
That's what we
Well,
need.
the other thing,
Need some
that's what I was
stuff.
going to suggest. I mean, you could come up with the same type of things that we do for our events. We have a sponsorship packet, and you could actually, could they not create something like that with a monetary
And
amount?
you could
So that
do
when
like
you,
a
and you could hand it
trifle,
out
or
to
you could
everybody,
do
so
just like a-
everyone's on the same playing field.
You know, just kind of details of your projects, talks about, you know, your main projects and who you are, not really your names, because then they'd be limited in case people have turnover, but that would be
Okay.
after
But
you.
in the interim, if I wanted to get somebody in contact with the Public Arts Board, how do they do that?
Teresa would be your
Yeah,
contact.
give me give my contact information. Give my contact information.
So just refer them to you.
Yeah. And then I can invite the person to come to the board, you know, to present something. Actually, I have one topic to discuss with you, which is a sculptor that would like to come to talk to you guys.
Okay, we need to go to the next topic, because otherwise we will not finish that. And so the next topic is plans to use the 10,000 already committed to be given to the Public Arts Fund. So if Teresa could explain and let the board know exactly
So
what this means.
I think in the previous meeting I told you guys that we have now in the Land Development Code, we have a provision that if you're deviating from the architectural standards of the code, one of the ways that you can mitigate is to donate funds to the Public Arts Fund. And we have one project, it's Lockwood Storage, was approved, and they had to provide some kind of semi-public space because of the square footage of the building. But because if it is a storage, they didn't think it made sense, and we didn't think it made sense either. But the code still required. So that was 100% deviation. So because of that, they had to provide 3 mitigations. So they donated $10,000 for our Public Arts Fund. So this is already approved, and they will have what we call a pre-construction meeting next week, a pre-con meeting, and they have to pay, you know, before the pre-con meeting, the $10,000. So next week we will have $10,000 in our Public Arts Fund, which is something that I did not expect to have so soon. So because we have that, we discussed internally on things that we would like to bring to you for discussion. So in the Public Arts, in the Oviedo Park, we have 2 mural spaces already, you know, they're waiting for a mural. One is page 22, so it's the large mural. The other one is in front of this one, is in the cantina, and it's shown in page
Here.
28. So one is
Sorry, help me.
22, and the other one is 28.
What building is that on?
What is that?
The one's the bathroom, is in between it's on the bathroom, it's on the,
The
it'd be
back.
on the west side of the bathroom, and it's a little quarter in between where you go to the chessboard area.
Oh, this
It's on the
one?
back side. And the other ones on the back side would be on the east side
I would
of
say
the...
north and south.
Well,
If-
it's the way you look at the park. Because east is Oviedo Boulevard. So if you're looking on the road, it's kind of, yeah,
Isn't
you're
that
kind of
so?
south, but
It's
I'm looking
still north and
I'm
south.
looking at the building.
It's this
I'm looking at the buildings.
This one is the largest one, yeah, and this is the smaller
And
one.
then, yeah, the marina,
Okay.
the backside of the marina.
So I asked Drew also to see if we could give an estimate of how much it would cost, the materials, because then we can figure out. So we have to decide how to, spend that money. And if we decide that the 2 murals would be, would count as 2 mitigation techniques for the project, because I have to split into 3 projects, the 10,000 at least. I mean, if we have still some balance in the end, it will be great. But one could be 1 mural, the other one, and the third one project that we discussed would be the skateboard, one of the balls, right?
One of the bowls.
To paint, and also as is shown here in our master plan, in page 25.
Like do some abstract
Yes.
painting of the skateboard park bowls.
25.
We've talked about that for years.
We
and we've
talked
just never
about-
done it.
This one? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, because
Well, you could start with the smaller bowl.
there is a smaller one, so we could start with the smaller one. So these would be, the ideas that we had, and then how to do that. So, for instance, I think for one of the murals, and again, I'm going to throw my ideas for discussion. I thought it would be nice to have a kind of postcard type of painting. That would be like a destination that people could take pictures. I think that would, help.
Like an old style.
It is.
Yeah,
That's what I want to
yeah.
show.
So we have in page 24, we gave examples of murals, right? And there is even one with a video. I think that would be a cool, way to start, to have, a very distinctive mural with the city and portraying whatever, the artist decides or the board decides to give as a theme for them to portray. And we could do that as a call for artists, and then we give how much we are paying, right?
If I was a mural artist and I had the opportunity to put a mural in a Vita One Park, I'd donate the thing.
Well,
Consider that.
that would be,
I agree. But here's the thing, because I asked Teresa, I said, Teresa, well, if the board could pay for the materials, and if I was an artist and I was asked to do it, I would probably just say, you're letting me create this, and give me some ideas, but you're providing all the materials and everything. I would think that they would say yes. But then I said, what if, though, they say, well, I've got to be paid for my time. My time is my time is my time.
their profession.
Plenty of artists.
I agree, but well, and the thing is, I think Teresa had an idea of maybe putting it on the webpage and seeing if we get people to volunteer.
On what webpage?
But I think that
I'm sorry, on the City of Oviedo.
City of Oviedo.
a page in Facebook. We have a Facebook page too, so we could also push information through the Facebook. I always think, I love donations, but I also think it's nice to give, and if you pay $500, $1,000, it's.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too. I feel like the artists are there.
Starving artists.
Well, it's quite a bit of time, and there's
It
a
is.
lot of work
It's a
involved
trade.
in the mural.
And it's a way to say, well, we recognize,
Support the
your
local
work.
artists is also to support them financially.
Sure.
On some-
Maybe we have someone that will say, I would do for free. And, but that would be, so we could do either as a call for artists and give the theme and whatever you all decide to be, the package, and then we'll put that in the website and in the Facebook. And the other
Just
one.
one question. Call for artists, it is a contest or?
No, they
No.
submit their work, maybe
They
they
submit
submit
their work.
examples of their work and their credentials or their background or whatever, what their ideas might be even. I think we could come up with a, call for artists. It's almost saying, it's like when the city asks for
It's a
contractors to
RFP,
bid on.
yeah.
sort of-
Well, but it will be a
Well,
selection. It will
because-
be like a select. It will be like a contest in the sense that
Yeah.
the board will recommend, the first, the second, and the third,
Yeah, we
whatever,
look at their work
or
and
the
think
first,
that
or only
this
the
looks
first.
like it fits,
And absolutely, anybody that was selected to do a mural has to a prototype for us so we can see what it is.
Well, and that would be the way,
I see
yeah.
real garbage in places that we would.
Well, and that would be they will have to submit. So in the call for artists, we will have to say
Have
submit
to
in
do to scale.
a concept, in such form, colors, with whatever you can,
I mean, if it's going on the side of an old building, it doesn't make that much difference what it is. But to go into a Vita One, the park, there's a style and there's a color scheme and there's an ambiance and an atmosphere that it needs to fit that.
And you need to know that for what kind of paint, colors, order and all of that stuff. So
Exactly.
you need to know some of that stuff.
But one way of using the money and compensating the artist wouldn't it be to do the contest and offering $1,000 for first place, and that would be the pay, and of course, being all the material being paid by the city.
I don't see this as an art contest so much, because I see that as more like for what we would do when we're supporting the education system and the students. I would see this as, like you're saying, a request for quotes and allowing the artists to professionally put forth, here's examples of my work, here's what I would envision putting, maybe they could come and do a presentation and show us, this is what I think would look really cool, here's my sketch. And then we as a board would look at it and collectively say, I think this fits what we're envisioning.
yeah. Will be a selection, right? I don't know if it's but it
Not
will be
a
a selection.
contest, because something could be absolutely gorgeous, but wouldn't fit.
Fit the environment, yeah, or the theme, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
You have to go and sit and show them all of your work and everything.
So it will be a selection. So one could be that one, right? If the other one, and we were discussing today, I like the idea of reaching out to young artists, right? To the young, so we could give like another call for artists, in a different age. Or the other thing is that, and I thought about that, it will be because one will be in front of the other. So if you have too much information, it can be noisy too, right? One competing with the other, or one, in a way, overwhelming the other. So I thought it would be nice to have then a contest with the school, to have a poem or a phrase or something that reflects Oviedo. Why do you like, something that the kids could propose and we would write. Would be like like a poem. So we wouldn't have one competing with the other. It would be two different, But this was just ideas, and
One of the things I'd mentioned, on the back of the marina, we had discussed this. Time starts flying when you're having so much fun. When it was built, we had discussed the winner of each year of the Taste of Oviedo, and possibly they could recreate their artwork on the back of the marina because it's smaller, might be a little bit. And I talked with one of the winners one year, and they said, that's impossible. And I go, what do you mean? And they go, well, you got to understand, when I create this,
different mediums, right? Yeah,
okay, for me to recreate it exactly will never happen. You see what I'm
Unless you did
saying?
it in a billboard style.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now, exactly.
You could do it that way.
Yeah. So I said, okay, that's interesting. And then the other thing that came, it depends on what type of artist and what they're painting, because some of them use different arts, and so some of them would not go on a building to where another one might use a different type of paint, so that could easily go on a building. So I said, okay, well, what if we take your picture and have recreated on like a canvas? So I checked with a group who said that they could actually build a frame on the back of that building to where you could actually take that thing and recreate it and put it up there, and then that would fly, or that would be on that building for a year. But in case, inclement weather, hurricanes, which we have, it could be taken down so it wouldn't get damaged and that type of thing. But it would be up there for possibly a year, a full year.
Billboards do that. And,
Yes.
they leave it up even in the hurricanes. And sometimes it takes a hit, but, most of the time, it's designed to last
Yep.
on that vinyl.
Yep.
And the vinyl is very crisp and clean, so it's not like it will blur the image of it.
Okay, that's exactly what Deland has on their energy boxes. It's all vinyl.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah, I think that this idea of having one mural that it's a more artsy, created, more permanent, and the other one being something that it's temporary in nature, I think that it's an excellent idea. I also thought that maybe could be also to think about not only on how to put other works of art like you had this you described, Drew, but also some type of other use, like for a campaign. What do you expect the city to be in 20 years? And you put there, this type of thing that it would be more temporary, it would attract because it would be new, you have novelty in different types or different times of the year. So I think that that's something that we could,
Can I just
promote.
Just to speak to what you said, I love the idea of having the schools, have that sort of thing, because I think my creativity is so limited. It'd be nice to have everybody kind of, especially young people, think about what does Oviedo mean, or just something new, and then I guess we pick what we think the phrase could be, because I think that would be just really a beautiful thing, and to use the community and the schools would be great. So I just wanted to, because we moved on, so I wanted to make sure that I just love that idea.
If you've been to the Great Day in the Country, wrong event, the Women's Club always has a student art exhibit, and there are a lot of very talented students in the schools here.
Are you going to accept suggestions beyond the three that you had mentioned? For
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to
Okay.
it's the board. The board is the one that's going to recommend to
This is
city
just
council.
to-
I'm just,
Okay, so somebody mentioned this, and I thought it was a really good idea. I'm looking at the diversity around the table here, and I'm thinking we're not completely represented of our community on this board here. But if we could do something that would speak to the full community, and the thought that occurred to me was at Round Lake, there's a building on Round Lake that could lend itself very nicely to a beautiful black and white or any color piece of art on the side, reflecting Oviedo's Black history, and we could you could celebrate it to be unveiled at Black History Month, and it would just be I think a really nice thing to. And you've got the parade on Martin Luther King, and any of those times
You're
would be
talking
really
about
appropriate.
the building where the Oviedo Citizens in Action meet.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's also some very ugly blank handball courts.
Yeah, I was just fixing to say, you could also do the handball courts, and I would not be opposed to that.
Well, I
would
was
not be
living there,
opposed
so I
to
didn't
that.
even know they were in.
Because we're in the process, in fact,
Just
staff,
big blank concrete
But-
walls.
So I would love to see the diversity in the community.
I love that idea, and I think the Iron Group would love that. Right? Because it will be.
OCIA.
They
OCIA.
probably support you.
Oh, yeah,
and-
and I will tell you, if it could be incorporated somehow, unveiling it, doing it, on an annual basis, and unveiling a new one during MLK every year, it'd be outstanding in my book.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great.
Ovidius Citizens in Action. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They sponsor the Martin Luther King Day Parade.
Parade.
Yeah.
We do that in conjunction with the Recreation Parks Department.
So we could plan one of those to be unveiled
In Round Lake.
in the
I
next
think
MLK. So we'll have.
That's a great
And I
idea,
think
yeah.
it also, distributes better the resources, because the problem of channeling everything to Oviedo Park, although it's great to show the program, it is you're channeling everything to one place, right? So be able to spread a little bit.
Yeah, to spread,
I think
yeah.
it would be.
Because
Yeah.
I would hate, I can't remember who it was said that I think it was you that said that the corridor is a lovely thought, but there are some historic areas of town that really need, whether it's a fire hydrant or a electrical box or something decorated throughout that area, just to draw them into this art program, as opposed to having it all.
Just all concentrated, yeah.
Yes. I mean, it would seem like right now, looking at this line, that this is public art for the well-to-do in the community, and actually, people can walk on the trails and stuff, but still, it gives you that feeling that it's just for the higher income. And there's just some beautiful areas in town that could lend themselves to.
I think
Right.
that way would be very nice, because a lot of people don't even know where that park
Some they
is.
don't know.
And it's a beautiful park,
And
yeah.
it's a beautiful
Gem of-
park.
I've
Yeah.
always said that, it's the gem of the city that is not known. It's
And there's not even a
That's
sign
what's
for it that
beautiful
you
about it.
obviously see.
The boardwalk around there.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't know that there's a boardwalk. It's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Should have seen it when I got here. It was completely forest.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah. None of the walkways, the only thing was there was the one basketball court, the old broken down bathroom facility that was closed, and the tennis courts.
So it
An
hasn't been
old
like that for
playground.
28 years, huh?
Well, kudos to
One of the first things I did was we went in, back then, we actually brought in chain gang from Seminole County and had them clear land. And
Wow.
those are the days we could do that. We can't do that anymore. We actually did.
I believe you.
We had Seminole County inmates come out.
I believe
And
you.
Okay, Lisa?
I have
You
a,
could
just,
community
my
service
husband's
workers.
on the board of the Maitland Art and History
it was great.
Museum or in Maitland. They have artists, and it's like a little colony that it goes way back. And anyway, is this something I could maybe pitch to him to maybe talk to his people about, if we do have that contest? Because I know it's going to be on the website, but, maybe we can get the word out in that different way. And I'm not sure how to, talk to people outside of, I was kind of a little bit concerned about that. But if that's something that we could do, or there's something he could do to present that to at his
I
meeting.
would like to see it limited to local artists.
Yeah, I think just Oviedo for that quote.
Okay.
I don't know, I think that it's good to
For
open.
other things, yeah, but I thought that quote you mentioned would be more about like living in Oviedo, being an Oviedo resident, like something about.
But I think she's mentioning the diversity one, right? The one in Round Lake Park, or
No, just
any-
generally, yeah.
I think I think it's good to reach out first of all to other groups, because we learn, right? And I think this time, because I brought Drew here, so I did not plan to have anyone else, on coming as, to speak to us. But I think it would be good to reach out to Sanford, reach out to Maitland, to see what are they doing, what kind of partnerships we can have.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea for us to learn how others are doing. And as far as the call for artists, it's going to be the board decision also if it's going to be limited to Oviedo residents, it's going to be Seminole County, it's going to be local, local
It'll
artists.
depend on the project.
On the-
Something like
yeah.
you're saying,
The schools,
those
yeah.
words that are very, speak to somebody that
Lives in
you
Ov-
want an
yeah.
Oviedo resident who knows the heart of the city, versus maybe a sculpture in the sculpture garden that we might want a broader base of
Yeah.
sculptures, so
Yeah.
we can decide on a per project.
But on the art itself, I mean, from my perspective, I think the best art wins.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
I don't
where
care.
it comes from.
Yeah, but the words, I think
The
that-
words, yeah, I think for the schools, I think it would be, and you have to decide if we do that, go that route, which level is going to be elementary school, because,
Right.
and then we do like a fifth grade, whatever you decide the grade, and we propose that to the schools, right? And I think that should be local, but,
Yeah.
and I agree with you, yeah. Good art doesn't have frontiers, right?
Yeah.
It's good too. But I love the idea of the diversity in Rowley Park. I think that would be a nice.
The whole thing, Mary Pando mentioned something about that. So she planted the seed, and I just thought, yes,
Yeah.
that's got to be that one.
Yeah. Frederick?
I know I can never remember the man's name. He's done a lot of painting on fences and things around in the Seminole County area and on the trails. But he has done dog pictures on a fence at Pet Rescue. And what they had done is,
I think it's here.
It's in this.
I think people
Yeah.
submitted pictures,
Mention.
and maybe he outlined it, but then the people actually came in and painted the pictures.
Talking about the Sanford Pop Park.
Yeah, I think
that-
it's this one, isn't it? Sanford's Park.
That's the Jeff. I think his name is Jeff, and he's a Sanford. His name is Jeff, I believe. He's a Sanford artist, and that's around Paw Park. She's
But
It
getting,
shows here
It's-
people painting, right?
and
getting people involved in doing it could
I think it's a cool thing.
but it was set up and coordinated through the Arts Board, and
I don't have time for that, for the dog park. That's one of the things we're doing as an initiative to the dog park. We've actually brought in from Seminole County dump, we brought in giant tires off of front end loaders and things, and we buried the whole idea, and we've got concrete culverts from our Public Works Department, and we are planning on doing fencing to cover our reclaim area, reclaim water area, and then we were putting wood fencing up. Well, that's the thing. That's why I said I don't have necessarily time. Everything.
All of it.
Everything. Staff has some ideas, just going out and doing some actual graffiti art on the tires and culverts and writing different things, bow wow and things like that. You got to remember, dogs see in black and white, or at least that's what I've always been told.
Yeah.
So it's for the owners and the kids, to attract them to the park. I wish I could say I have time to have the board, do something. We were going to, actually, what we were going to do, as soon as we were kind of working through some St. John issues with stormwater, but we were actually going to put on the webpage and our Facebook, our Facebook, and offer, artists to come in and hopefully do it free, and to come in, or we were even looking at having a kids' day to come in just to have kids splash art and handprints, and bring your dog out and handprints and whatever, kind of make it neat, So we were looking at doing it that way too before we did a grand opening or a ribbon cutting ceremony.
So I think that maybe that could be a good idea, that we could piggyback and promote the Public Arts Board in this type of event.
You saw the
Right.
police vehicle at the Optimus Cops and Cars.
Yeah.
They had, well, I think it was it white, I think, I forgot.
Yeah, I want to say it.
But they had the whole vehicle covered with kids' handprints. Allowed them to put on the vehicle. It was really
Huh,
clever.
that's neat, yeah.
Okay, so I think that we have here some ideas. It would be, let me summarize, and again, you correct me if I'm wrong. The format would be most likely a call for artists. Did I understand, for all of the 3 murals or one of them?
So the first one, if you all agree with the postcard type of
Theme?
idea, right?
So we
we'll do a
would
call
establish
for
the
art for that
theme.
one, right?
Yes.
And it will be a video, and so the second one, and then I will put the round lake park as the second one.
Yeah.
So we could do, and then the theme would be what, diversity or Black history. What would you like to be the theme? And
I would just put Black history, I would think, in that.
You can tie that into MLK very easily.
And you could, there's a wide range of things, then whoever was the artist.
And Black History
So we would
runs right 2 weeks later, so
Yeah.
it'd be perfect timing.
So we would put Black history as the theme
Yeah.
for that one. Would be also a call for artists. And then the third one, which I think would be cheaper, I would imagine, the school contest. And even if the board wants, we could propose that the school does the contest and propose and bring to us the winner, so that, the teachers, they would run,
Find the art teacher in each school.
yeah.
I don't trust the art teachers. Sorry.
Would be done. It will be more of a literature, right? It would be more of a English teacher, or because it would be literature, a poem, whatever you about a video, and then they would propose to us, and then I think we would find someone
In a pretty font.
to paint in a nice font,
But is
In
that
the
the idea
other-
to make something permanent, or it would just be for a year?
I think
Because I
all-
think that one, I think that we could
I think both, all the
discuss
murals are not permanent.
more.
Yeah,
In-
see,
in-
I would
in-
almost suggest if you're going to do it with the schools, do it with the...
Every
do it with-
year.
Well, no, do it twice a year, and you
Yeah.
can do it with the elementary schools and both high schools and the middle
Do
schools.
something like
and
that,
then
yeah.
turn-
More-
or you
more-
could even do it once a quarter.
If we have money, right, because we need
Well,
to have money. So
That's where I would
I
try
always like
get
to start
someone
slow,
volunteer.
small, and
I would try to
grow.
get someone to volunteer that portion of it, and if you have a, verbiage, like a poem or something, try to get someone who is able to do that and would donate their time
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to
then,
see being the donating.
I think it matters. It depends on how fantastic that quote is. I mean, if it captures what we're trying to capture, it could be the,
Well,
the
that's
thing,
true, too.
So I guess that's the question, and I think we'd have to come up with a,
If you were going to
Guidelines.
If you were going to change it, however often you decided to, you could take the new quote that was selected and take the old quote, provided it's short enough, and just place it somewhere around so that after several years, you'd have a whole...
Several quotes, that's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just put what with the main one for the most current.
Yeah.
In the front, but so that those words just don't go away.
Yeah.
Imagine a kid coming back into the town later on and seeing the thing that he wrote. or
Yeah.
he wrote,
it'd be cool.
Sometimes the quote
Well, we have a lot
mural.
of spaces that we can utilize, so maybe it stays and we can build upon it in other locations
Surprising
around town.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprising.
And we can always record
I like
them
that.
too, right? Take pictures and then, in the future, have a,
Reproduce.
a little
Yeah.
publication on the codes, on the city. So we can do that for the future too. But I like the idea of also, shrinking and putting still there and, inviting others to come.
And designing it so that it's like a selfie place, that somebody could stand
Could
and
come-
take
yeah.
a selfie
Yeah.
picture
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah.
'cause
But I think one of the things that legally we will have to check with our attorney is an agreement that this is going to be temporary. So if there is a damage to a mural, or if in 1 year the city decides to have another call for artists, again, we will record whatever is there with a good photograph and whatever, but it's going to be donated to the city.
The intellectual
That's your
property of
word.
the city, and that's in our agreements that we have standard with Sanford that we came up with, and Lonnie's reviewed as well.
Yeah, that
And the artist
we own
agreed
it
that as
and
being
we
part of the
can,
public display.
because mural is different than a sculpture, right? I mean, it's less permanent. And I think the idea that we can change that in the future, and we want to make it, upfront.
wasn't somebody just sued for that? They got rid of the mural and...
There was a city that was, actually, it was a developer who had a vacant building, so he invited artists to come and paint as graffiti, right? So it was all painted, and at one point he wanted to redevelop the property, and he demolished it, and the artist sued the developer because they destroyed
And won.
it and won. So that was, and I think the argument is that they didn't know, so they were not informed, so they could not take pictures, although it was there for,
Okay, yeah.
for a period of
It's their
time.
intellectual property. And on the flip side of that, may I also bring to your attention, when you get to restricting content, you start thinking about your call for artists and you're evaluating different pieces of artwork, you need to be careful because on the flip side, the city of New York faced a similar lawsuit in commissioning a sculpture, and the mayor, I think, didn't like it. It was obscene to his to his opinion or something. It's been a year or so since I've read the opinion.
remember,
You
yeah.
remember? Yeah, and he lost, so the city ended up liable
Wow.
for that as well.
Wait, the mayor chose not to select that particular?
Not to display it. I guess once the finished product came to fruition, didn't like it. It was too obscene, or I can't remember the.
People see different things, right?
Right.
In art, which is interesting.
So it's a fine line when you're getting into content-based.
I want to mention one thing. One of the things I was going to also mention, I mean, we hadn't discussed this. How many of you have been to the gymnasium? Have any of you been to the gymnasium? Okay, if anyone's been to the gym, you know the hallway going down to the fitness room, there's a mural. okay? And then on the front of the cantina or the concession area, there's a mural. We actually had an artist come in and do that several years ago. And since then, when we've had not the same artist, but when we have the wall painted with just normal painters, they go over the artists and redo it. Where I was going with this, though, I have no opposition to paint anywhere in the building, gymnasium, walls, anywhere, fitness room. Everything's basically kind of white now because we always paint everything pretty much white to keep things looking clean. But I have no opposition if this board chooses to at some point to have an initiative to where artists and there's money and stuff like that.
Me too, my office,
You want a mural in your office and the board agrees?
my hallways.
A nice, beautiful little,
Just make sure you have a contract that says we can paint over it at some point in time.
oh yeah, I think that's important. And that's one of the things I know Teresa mentioned, that we will definitely have to have some type of,
Murals in your office?
Okay,
No.
I believe that we have to kind of try to summarize what we are thinking in terms of what has been suggested and also see what would be the next steps in this process, right? So I believe that we would have to have, do we need to have a motion for that? Because we are choosing defining some ways of getting to, this art. And then, of course, we would have to detail it. So,
Because I think the next step would be to give like an estimate for each one to see if we have money for to fund all those 3 projects, or even the 4th, from the skateboard, how much that would cost, and then I'll bring back to you
Okay.
more detailed, these 3 ideas, how it would work, how much it would cost,
Do you have the measurements of all this?
I do
Okay.
of the walls. I don't have for the Round Lake
no,
Park.
I can
don't.
get that to you. And I
We
don't know
can
if
get-
we've actually taken the measurement of the bowl, but we can do that too.
Yeah, the boy I also don't know.
And
So
the
those 2,
bowl is one of those things where you could actually start small by just doing something in the bottom and then expanding it up the walls, and then you could actually drop over into the other. I mean, this could actually be a
Process.
year process, whatever the board decides.
and maybe we could start thinking, and I believe that Jennifer maybe could help us in terms of what would be a call for artists, the format, and what it would be entailed,
Yeah, there's lots and lots. I sent Teresa a link during the meeting. It's artdeadline.com, and it's sort of there's a lot of websites out there with them, but this one looked to be a good one, and it listed them out by different, like public art RFPs, grants, different things, and there's lots of samples, lots of examples. And you could also look at the city of Sanford that we just did. Public art.
So should we then make a motion and vote on these 3 suggestions or 4 that they are in order?
However
Yes.
you-
So
You
we
want
need a
them
motion.
specifically nailed down on the projects, or you want just directive to?
Okay, so one of the motions is to use some of the money, the $10,000, to fund the mural in Oviedo on the Park. Not sure how you refer to that particular space. Is it
Center Lake Park.
the Center Lake Park space? So the motion is to use our first, I guess to make that our first art project, is to make the mural and do a call for artists. Is that what we're agreed on?
I didn't know we
think
had a sequence for these.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, because we wanted to start with one what's the Oviedo theme, and get an artist. And we agreed that we were going to pay for an artist, but we don't have a certain amount of money yet that we know about. You're going to look into the paint and the.
I think the best way would be to give an estimate, because if the materials cost $3,000, then we start having less money, right? So let's check how much material would
Yeah, I'm
would
still
be.
waiting on a couple artists, but we've been told, according to how extravagant you get with colors and different, it could be anywhere from as cheap as $500 up to as much as $2,000 in material costs. but we're waiting,
Really
we got,
high for material cost for that size of a space. And it's just outdoor paint essentially, right?
Yeah, different
I'm not an
different
artist,
colors,
so I don't
right?
know what
Different
they
colors,
use.
right? Of
I
all
can
the
imagine
yeah.
that. Well, anyway, it'd be interesting to hear that. I think that.
yeah, I've got one of my employees has a real good friend who's lives over in Claremont, and he's an artist in Claremont. So he said he might even come, there again, I know it's this board's decision, but he said he might even donate his time to paint it, because he likes doing that kind of stuff. But Jack was going to ask him to come over, he just hasn't had a chance to come over yet. And then I was reaching out to one of the artists here in town, and actually I got an email back from him, I think yesterday, that I've got to reach back out to him to see about setting a meeting up to have him come and look.
Like I did the Oviedo wings that is on the outside of the orange door, and I just used outdoor paint for that. I don't usually work with murals. Usually I have a watercolor artist, but for that, for Carrie, I did that. And just to give an example, she paid me $500 to do that, and I just used outdoor paint. So that was like, I could see us getting away with, I mean, it depends on what the artist, who the artist is, but I can't imagine spending more than $2,000 or $3,000 on that small, at least the back side of that.
Bathroom?
Yeah, the little, or the little what is that called? The boathouse, whatever you call that.
Oh, the boathouse.
The boathouse
yeah.
is the largest one.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine it. I mean, I feel like we could set a
I don't
price
have
a
it
little
here.
bit
How big
and
is the wall
say,
about?
this is what
Oh.
we're willing to pay. We're willing to pay this
The
for
one wall's probably
what were you gonna say?
What did you just paint?
4 foot
on the
by
floor?
10.
No, it was the outside of the
Oviedo.
building.
Oviedo in the park.
Said,
That's
asked
the
me if I
one,
would
the
paint
the
Oviedo wings
marina,
for the city of Oviedo.
probably
People
4
could
foot
stand in
wide.
front of it.
So I don't know, do we have a motion about the,
Well, I think that we have to complete the motion.
As to wing.
One is, we have a motion for a call for artists for using part of the money to make a mural on one of the buildings in Oviedo on the park, Center Park, with a postcard theme. Are we defining that now?
We'll call it a postcard theme, meaning it's something that could define Oviedo like.
Would define Oviedo. So
So we'll call
that's
that postcard.
one. We have two other, I don't know if we need to have one motion for each one, or it could be everything in one motion.
Combine them all.
So
One motion. So that's one thing. The second is the,
let's do
To
that.
have,
Let's do that. Okay, so that's the first motion. Does everybody agree to that motion? Is there a second on that one thing?
I'll second that.
Okay.
okay. So the motion is on the table. Everybody that it's agrees says aye.
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 Opposed? No opposition, so the motion carries forward. We need a second motion now.
Okay, so the second motion would be for, I think we talked about the Round Lake Park space, and that would also be a mural type of piece of art having to do with Black history theme, and that would be our second project.
Would that be a call for artists too? Because I think that we have to define that in order
Yeah.
to be able to go ahead.
Yes. So
Okay.
a call for artists.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, we have a second motion to do another call for artists to use another part of the $10,000 and to be used in Round Lake Park on some wall of some building that we have not defined yet to do, and the theme would be Oviedo Black History.
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody that agrees says aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Third. We
Okay.
need a third one.
Oh,
Third motion.
The other one was the
The
small,
quote.
or the words, the quote.
Yeah.
What's that little?
Marina,
Oh, so
The
somebody
marina.
has
Marina.
a wall?
Marina wall.
Okay, so a motion to have student-generated poetry or literature placed somehow on the marina wall as a mural format. And that would be a contest of a poetry or literature contest of some sort from the local community Oviedo schools.
Okay, we have
I'll second it.
second. So everybody that agrees with the motion says aye.
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 Opposed? So the motion carries on. And I believe that we will be discussing this in the next meetings with more input from staff in terms of how that would be organized. So the item number 4 in our agenda is other discussion items.
Just to clarify, so the skateboard is not going to be in the list as number 4?
I
No.
don't think that
Okay.
we would have the money to do that eventually. I mean, I think it's idea that, and it's in our plan, so I think we have. So item number 4 of our agenda is other discussion items. Who has, I have one too, but go ahead, Teresa.
So I two updates. One is that the CRA, which is the Community Redevelopment Agency, is approving a new plan for the CRA, and now they are including a public arts component. So the CRA could fund public arts. We tried before to put in the budget because the CRA is all the mixed-use district in the city, and involves also within the park, but goes north through Central to the old downtown. So it's a huge area. And we were trying to see if they could fund something and put in their budget. They were very open to the idea, but because it was not spelled out in their plan, they could not fund. So now they are doing approving a new plan, and it's going to be discussed in the LPA, which is our local planning agency, next week. So it's already there in their plan. So that's a good news for us because we would be able to also. Use their money, and they will be able to propose public arts to this board with their money. So I think that's a good avenue for us also. The second thing is that I was yesterday contacted by one of our council members, and Council Member Pollack sent me an email saying that he has a cousin who is a sculptor who is interested in donating a piece of art to the Oviedo, to the Public Arts Board. And he gave me the website, so I have the information here. His name is, let me get his name correct, Anthony Dill, and he works with iron. So I'll pass along. I called him today, and because this information came from yesterday. Yeah, if you go, I'll pass.
It's the safe.
You need to go, right? Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
No problem. Look forward to working with y'all in any capacity we can.
Do you all
Helpful to
have?
have you here. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
So I called him. I talked briefly with him. He's coming next week to meet with me, but I told him it would be great for him to come to our next city LPA, Public Arts Board. I go through the list.
Would this be, does he have one piece in mind, or? is
No,
he
it actually,
something?
so actually when he talked to me, he said, do you want me to prepare something to take to you? So because I said, well, I think the best thing would be for us to meet. I'll show you our draft master plan, I can discuss some ideas. But at this point, I didn't have anything to ask him to bring to me, and it was too soon. And he actually tried to come today, but I also saw it was already packed with a lot of things to discuss. So I said, well, the next time would be better, because then. So he's coming to meet with me next week, but I think it's a great thing, and I think that's the kind of thing that we all can do to spread the word that we are starting this program, right? That if people are interested in showcasing, their work, I mean, we are open to entertain the idea of having, of course, art donated to us. So I'll meet with him next week, and I'll try to bring him next meeting.
Do you have another item that you'd like to raise?
I just wanted to say, when you meet with him, perhaps you could ask him to prepare some examples, of possible pieces that we could look at, that he would be willing to donate. Is that what these are?
So
are just-
these, I just
Took these from the-
cut and paste from the website because there were many more in the web.
Really beautiful.
It's beautiful. So I told him it's really nice, beautiful. I think the board will be excited as well. And of course, I think for a lot of artists, it's a great way to market their work as well, right?
Maybe
Because
he
it's,
can give us some options, when he comes to look at, to see what pieces he's already created that might be.
yeah. So I'll meet with him next week. Let's see how the conversation goes, and I'll invite him to come to the next meeting.
And maybe if it was something that would be a potential for Oviedo on the park, he could drive through the park and see
I can show him for sure. Yeah. The
colors and
the
the
color.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
Do you have something?
I'm still wearing my marketing hat, and I was thinking, we haven't really discussed what the city has in terms of art already. And I started driving around in my mind thinking, there are pieces of art around here that nobody really notices. Just like the entranceway to Central Lake, there's those art pieces. And if you really look at them, they look like just little scrolly things, but they're chickens and birds and stuff on the scroll. I mean, it's a piece of art at every entrance. And then there's, when you go between Panera and Starbucks there's a art piece there, and whether you like it or not is not the issue. It's just that there's loads of art around town that I don't think people really even see anymore. So my question is how can we promote that? Do we have access to the Facebook page to be able to put something out there to just generate some interest that we formed, we're an active organization now, and we're marching down the road toward getting art, and here's what we have already in our city, and we just want to expand on this. So I think, so if somebody like myself wants to run around and take pictures of things that are already what I would consider art, or if anybody has any ideas that there's a million things I probably missed, could we put them on the Facebook page and say, here's Oviedo's art, and we want to just make it bigger and better? And
I think so. And actually, when I was discussing with the draft, we talk about at one point having in our maps the route, right? So if you are interested in art, this is the route to go to see the art, in Oviedo. So Oviedo the Park is new, so these were all brought by the developer prior to the Public Arts Board.
Oh, sure.
Because now, for instance, that kind of piece would have to come here because it's in the public right-of-way. It's in the area that, it's ours. So in Oviedo the Park, the developer, initiated, he put on his own cost and donated to the city. But yeah, we could, certainly...
We could promote them as pieces of art to go look at in the city.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a million people who've driven into that, Center Lake and never even really noticed them. But I'm a photographer, so we've taken pictures of them all the time. And when I bring them home, put them on my computer, I go, there's designs in there.
Yeah. And again,
People
was
to find the chicken and they can't.
I know. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little things if you drive around town. There's a lot of historic things. There's an old little mailbox in front of near Mr. Pritchard's house. And it's a piece of art, and it's sitting there, and it's just there's all sorts of things. And before they're torn down, I'd love to get around and get some pictures of them and show people how forward-thinking, I guess, Oviedo has been, and how...
It would be great to have, if you're a photographer, to have just the records right in the city in our website, so that we can even try to scroll them, in the new website to have. These are the art that we already have in the city. If you want to check, right?
Yeah.
That would be.
Interject. What Sanford did was directed staff to compile an art inventory of the city, and not to put more burden on Teresa.
And that's the thing.
Or her staff.
Let me tell you, I would love to, to spend a lot of
have the
time
time to be able to do that, but
with the public
But, like,
art.
if you
At
have-
this point, right now.
Yeah. that's like a secondary thing that you may be able to help. And the
Yeah.
art board could make a motion and direct, with your volunteer, if you're able to, and they could direct you to take the pictures. As to whether it's comprehensive or not, that would be up to the board to determine. But that's what Sanford did, was to ask that staff create an art inventory of the existing murals, existing art.
You could even enlist the community, if you put them up on the board, say, and just put up maybe 5 or 6 of them, and say, tell us where you've seen art, and have somebody.
Well,
just
the
have them
idea,
mention.
and the idea is sort of to create a big map along with the city, they have the big unfoldable city
Right.
map. And you have that here, I'm sure,
Well, that's one thing.
maybe in the works. And then to have the art identified on the map, which you would be adding to, obviously, with your murals and stuff like that. So it might not be something you want to do yet, since you know you're going to be adding a lot of stuff, but start creating an inventory as maybe a goal of your
Well,
plan.
I was just trying to create awareness for the fact that we do have a public arts board now, and that we do have art in our community. And just to create awareness, if somebody's driving down the street and sees the mailbox, oh, I saw that, or that sort of thing. And not really necessarily promoting what we're doing, but promoting what's already here.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if we had access to the city's Facebook page to be able to funnel information, I guess, to you, and that you
I
could
can propose, right? I
propose
can, yeah.
to go on.
Yeah.
Because there's all sorts of interactive things you can
Yeah.
get the community
We have.
excited.
Patrick County.
I'll use
Yeah.
the cloud. Okay.
I have, is there anyone else that,
The one that Patrick is the one that supervises.
I mean, we first saw it.
Forgotten exactly where it's at, but I drive by it a lot.
I know, but you don't even see it anymore because you go by it so much. So there's
Yeah, you
loads of
don't
things around
notice.
town that just that.
is there anyone else that has anything, any other item for discussion? I just have one, just to tell you, I asked Dahlia to make some copies of that. This is a publication of the Florida Planning Association. The chapter, Florida chapter of the Planning Association. The last publication was about all the initiatives over Florida about public arts. So, I don't know, did you make for everyone?
No, I send them the email.
Oh, you
It's in
sent
the
the
email.
email. Okay. So that was one thing. The other thing, and maybe I should scan that, this is from a magazine, Pegasus, from UCF, and they had, in one of their magazines, they had all the arts initiatives that UCF is taking, and there are very interesting things, including not necessarily only in UCF, but in Orlando area. It was not just on UCF, but one thing that really caught my attention was this map of Orlando. It was like a more artistic map showing the neighborhoods of Orlando, and that map was in a website that it went kind of viral in terms of people willing to buy it, and it's not available anymore.
Wow.
Well, once, this is just an example that we don't have in Oviedo something like that. I mean, we could have like this art inventory, a walk, which I think that topped the other, the Preservation of Oviedo project.
Yeah.
They have something like that. So this type of thing, I think that we could, in the, thinking about what you were saying in terms of disseminating what we have. I mean, we have to think about our assets.
Can you send a picture of that?
I can scan
take a
all
picture with your phone
everything, and then I can send to you, because there are more things here interesting. It's not
You
just
can
that.
send it to Teresa, and then Teresa will
We'll
send
send
it
to everybody, yeah.
That's how that works.
Thinking for call to artists, making sure that we tap into UCF's,
Or you can
artists
just do
will
the
be a
magazine.
great place to.
Yeah, I mean, they have a school of art that now is going to be in downtown, but still
They have
it's
murals
here.
on some of the
I didn't
walls.
get that.
Yeah, this is the one, the PAG. Yeah. Well, anyway, that was just my idea. So I believe that this ends our item number 4, other discussion items. Item number 5 is future meeting dates. It would be Wednesday, March 14th, 2018, a regular meeting, and Wednesday, April 11th, 2018, another regular meeting. We
We would like to ask if it's too soon, March 14th, or if you're good with March
What's
14th.
the board's pleasure in terms of the
Will you be
date?
ready to, with the draft update and all of that?
That's a good question, because time is my scarcest resource right now. But I could invite the Anthony Dill to come here. So if I don't have everything, I'll try to have everything ready. But if not, at least we could have the it's up to you if you want.
I can't make the 14th. I have a commitment. That doesn't mean it's
Well, if you find that you haven't gotten to things that you need to introduce, we can always, you can cancel the meeting then.
Okay.
Find that
Yeah.
out. I'm fine with that. I'll put it on my calendar, but if you have to cancel.
Yeah, I think the only thing in March, I think the next week would be like spring break for everybody.
No, then I think we would
It would
go
have
to
to be
April.
bumped to
Yeah,
April.
so I think it's either we do it before spring break or wait until April.
Right.
Before spring break, I think it's a little bit too soon.
Yeah, the 14th, that
Yeah.
might be too soon, so then I think we'd be looking
So
at
maybe we
April.
should skip the March one and do it in
Most
April.
of us,
Day,
yeah.
and then it's the-
And that's for Osceola County as well, so there's multiple counties that same week, so.
So
And
does
I'll
the board
try-
agree then to cancel the meeting on March 14th?
14th.
And then have,
Schedule.
the next meeting will be Wednesday, April 11th, 2018?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just would like to remind and ask everyone who cannot come to tell us in advance, because there is a policy in terms of how many times that a board member cannot come, but if you justify, I believe that that's so,
Yeah.
that's of course understandable, but we don't know whether we are receiving some notifications. I don't know, we have to check that.
Doug is the one that coordinates, but
Just one member, and that hasn't been attending.
Yeah, we'll have to check that, but just a reminder, I mean, of course, that everybody has other types of commitments, but if possible, to let us know in advance.
yeah, because we also
The
have to check
justification.
quorum, right, if there is quorum for the meeting.
Okay, having nothing else, I would make a motion. Adjourn.
No, let somebody else. Or you can just call it.
Okay, so I will adjourn the motion, the motion of the meeting.
Unless
Meeting
somebody objects.
adjourned at 8:05. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Now, it's not